I think we can do better than that. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Yes, now that I have your attention. My name is Jesse Edwards, and I'm the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer for the City of Framingham. And before we begin the formal program today, may I ask for a moment of silence given the recent tragic, senseless acts of violence in Israel. Thank you. Today, October 9th, 2023, we come together as a community to celebrate the City of Framingham's third annual Indigenous Peoples Day event. And how fitting is it that we had a beautiful day like this, and also how fitting is it that we are here in Farm Pond. Before we go any further, let me mark this moment as our land acknowledgement. History tells us before Christopher Columbus and before European colonization, the region of Framingham was inhabited by the indigenous Nipmuc, also known as the freshwater people. They lived along settlements just like here, right where we stand today. So as we stand here, let us not forget the atrocities inflicted on tribal nations and indigenous communities. We must acknowledge the painful history of the dispossession and marginalization that stripped the Nipmuc people of their right to self-determination and land relationship to the land and territory. Let us celebrate their perseverance and contributions then and now. We have a full program for you today with remarks from local leaders and students. We will also hear directly from Nipmuc Nation, cultural stewards. Unfortunately, Strong Bear Heart Gaines could not be with us today, but he sent two very capable representatives in his place. So without further ado, let me please thank those elected officials who came to join us today. I want to thank you, the Framingham community, who came out today to this event. And without further ado, please let me introduce to you Framingham's Mayor, Charlie Sisitsky.
Thank you, Jesse, and thank you, everybody, for that moment of silence. It's very important that we acknowledge what's going on in the Middle East, and we pray for everybody who's been injured and killed, and pray for peace and safety for everybody. So thank you for that. And I want to thank all of you for attending today's Indigenous Peoples event at Farm Pond Park. And this is the third such event that we've held in the city of Framingham. I want to thank all the organizations and the organizers of today's event, including the two members of my office, Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer Jesse Edwards, and who is chair of this event, and our Public Information Officer, Susan Petroni. I also want to thank all the community partners who are working with the city and the Framingham Public School District to mark Indigenous Peoples Day in the city of Framingham. This land we stand upon was once a part of Nipmuc Nation. Indigenous people have lived in Massachusetts for 10,000 plus years. The first known inhabitants of Massachusetts were Paleo Indians who moved into New England just as the glaciers were retreating at the end of the last ice age. On Indigenous Peoples Day, it is important to acknowledge those who have lived on this land for centuries before European explorers even arrived. Today is a day to remember those indigenous people who were forcefully removed from ancestral lands, displaced and assimilated. And today is a day to celebrate indigenous people's resilience, strength, and history. The name of our state comes from the Algonquin word roughly translated to mean a big hill place. And while 17 states have officially named today Indigenous Peoples Day, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts is not one of them. There are less than 100 indigenous peoples in Framingham, according to the 2020 census, but the history of Nipmuc people can be found throughout the borders of our city. One such example is at the downtown common, where there is a marker that commemorates a burial ground and old footpath of the Nipmuc people. When we observe Indigenous Peoples Day, we make a concerted effort to tell the true and transparent history of the land upon which our nation was founded. Indigenous Peoples Day is a day for both reflection and celebration. Thank you very much for attending, and hope we have a very nice ceremony later on in the program.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to now call to the podium Brett Lubarski, Director of Jewish Teen Services of the Combined Jewish Philanthropies.
Thank you so much. I'm proud to be representing the team and Rabbi Mark Baker at Combined Jewish Philanthropies of Greater Boston. Unfortunately, Rabbi Baker couldn't be here with us today as there is currently a community solidarity rally being held on Boston Common due to the current situation in Israel. Together, we all pray for peace and appreciate the solidarity and support. Today, I'm honored to be here with you all representing the Greater Boston Jewish community. CJP is proud to partner with people and organizations throughout the Metro West and broader Greater Boston community. And the Jewish Teen Initiative at CJP is helping to connect, inspire, and empower teens in the community to be the change that they wish to see in the world around them. It's all about our community and how we can find opportunities to learn, to connect, to discuss, and to work together. The work and the services that JFS Metro West helps to coordinate in our community connects us all regardless of affiliation, identity, or religion, that we're all able to work together in supporting each other, making our community and world a better place, and make it stronger, safer, and more just. As we recognize Indigenous Peoples Day with the City of Framingham, the members of Nipmuc Nation, and the many community offices, officials, and members that are present here today, we acknowledge the important role that memory and story play in our lives, and we celebrate the resilience of the Indigenous people who reside in our community. The teens that go to Framingham High and other local schools in this area do incredible things every day, and they find their voice to be able to stand up for what's right and to be together and to lift each other up and to amplify the important messages that need to be heard. This is part of what our community is able to do to help support those teens and other members. In Jewish tradition, we say, Lo alecha hamlacha ligmor, v'lo ata ben chorin lahibatel mimena. Our tradition teaches us that it's not up to us to complete the work of making our world and community a better place, but we can't just sit around and do nothing. We have to stand up, we have to speak up, and we need to try to do something together. So thank you very much for all the work that we are doing together as a community and for being here today.
At this time, I'd like to call up Student Representative Navaya Mattel.
Hi everyone, my name is Navia Mattel, and it is my pleasure to talk to you about Indigenous Peoples Day and what it means to me. So Indigenous Peoples Day is meant to recognize the painful history that Indigenous people have faced and to celebrate their communities. This is because Columbus is viewed not as a discoverer, but as a colonizer. His arrival led to the forceful taking of land and set the stage for widespread death and loss of Indigenous ways of life. Indigenous Peoples Day is not yet a federal holiday, but hopefully it will be soon. This day celebrates the languages, music, contribution, and resilience of all the Native people. Indigenous people were the first to teach European colonizers farming, medicine, housing, cultural practices, and so much more. We must not forget that there have been many injustices directed toward the Native community in the past and even today. And I hope that we are all gathered here today to acknowledge the land that we are on and how that credit goes toward Indigenous people. Just look at the name of our state, which derives from the Algonquin word Massachusetts, which means great hill, small place, roughly. And that showcases the legacy that the Massachusetts tribe had. But nevertheless, as the mayor said, the fact that various states and regions have such prevalent Indigenous impact, yet tribes are still not being preserved or recognized, conveys the need for more representation and support. And organizations and groups like the Indigenous Environmental Network are working together to strengthen community bonds and conserve their natural resources, as well as fight for climate justice. And so, as we enjoy this event, we are able to take a walk down history's path and a peek towards a bright future. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of the celebration.
What passion. Thank you. We had another student representative who was going to speak today. I just do not know if he is here or not. Are there any students who wish to speak and give their feelings on this day's event? Okay. Next on the program is a man who needs no introduction. Lino Karabayas from the Jewish Family Services of Metro West tapped me a few months ago and asked if the city would lead this event, and I said absolutely. He's been leading this event for the last few years, but entrusted the city to run it this year. So Lino, thank you very much, and look forward to your words. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. Good afternoon, everybody. As Jesse said, I'm Lino Covarrubias, very proud CEO of Jewish Family Services.